Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Our patient today is a Gigabyte GA Z170X Gaming 7 board, which has an issue with ripped pads. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ripped pads. Now this one, I'm not sure. This one doesn't look too good either. It seems like it's holding. Maybe it's just a little bit of flux left on it. Could be. This one's ripped, and unfortunately this one is going to the memory. So this one is going to be tricky. That's the hardest one actually, because the trace goes all the way over here and to the memory. So it's obviously important, but the issue over here is, as opposed like this one, we just need to route from, I think from here to here, or from here to here. I gotta check that under a bigger scope to make sure. Now this one's on the edge, so we can just route from here. Just scrape a little bit over here and route through here. This one only needs to go to this via, and this one to this via. Now the issue with all this is that if we lift it too much, so if there's going to be a big solder blob over here, the socket is not going to sit and it's not going to solder on. The same with this one over here. If the wire if the wire is too thick, or it basically causes the socket to be lifted, it will likely not solder on correctly. So this is rather challenging. Oh, and I forgot this one here, but also it only goes to the via right next to it, so this is fine. The first step though is to remove all the solder, because as you can see, in some places there is way too much solder, and I could do it later after rerouting or retracing, but I have to heat it up nicely and maybe put some lead-free solder on it first before I can clean it, although I'm pretty sure I already did put some lead-free solder on it, so I should be able to clean it as it is. Yeah, like some of these have a lot more solder here. Yeah. So we need to clean it first because it needs to be warmed up very nicely to wick it nicely. Then we need to retrace 5, 6 pins. Now that's not something that I've ever attempted before on the LG A1151 socket. Not to mention that I haven't had much success actually even replacing these sockets, even when there's no ripped pads. So this is going to be tricky. However, the good thing is that we know that this board works, other than some broken pins that were on the socket. So if we replace the socket and it doesn't work, then it's definitely a socket side. It's socket's fault, or socket replacement fault. So there's not going to be any guessing here. Now we do have a knot, this little notch over here outlined, which will make it easier to align the CPU or the CPU socket, right? But as you can see, I can't really align it right now because it's not clean. There's still too much solder on the pins. But once we clean it, reroute it, retrace it, we'll put the socket on and test it. The chances are, I would say, 50-50. But we'll see. It will probably be two parts to this. I will clean it and retrace it today, and we'll see. If I'm still up for it, I'll try to replace the socket. The socket replacement is a little more lengthy procedure because I have to most likely remove the heat sinks, but I don't know. I've done a lot more testing on the my soldering station or my socket replacement station, and I got a lot better results now after doing it, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times. So on the 5th try I got the temperature almost exactly, almost perfectly. Now the let me show you. I should be able to show you the sockets. I don't remember which ones they were, but like here you can see that a little bit of plastic has melted. See this? Over here, right? That is a slight melting. This is what oh, you can't see it. Right here. So this is where the smoke comes from. But as you can see, it only burns slightly at the bottom. Now this one got quite significant melting, as you can see, just in some tiny spots, but significant. This one, yeah. So this one, as you can see, is perfect. No signs of melting anywhere, and no ripped pads or anything. So this is the temperature. This is the perfect temperature. And as far as those temperatures, I put what was it, 260 at the bottom, but that is 260 on the heater, or at least the space between the board and the heater. So it's not 260 on the board, and the top of the board gets to about 130, 140 degrees, the top of the board. So the bottom is probably around 200 degrees, maybe, well, should be around 260, because that's what I said. The top is 270, yeah, 270. Let's see, I had, yeah, so 270 at the top, and that is, so far I found the perfect combination. But before you start replicating that, be mindful that every device is slightly different, so there's no other way than just do few boards and test it, you know. Test your temperatures, because it might be completely different depending on the device. I would guess that you can probably do it at 220 if you have good device. I have a crappy $50 from Amazon heater that I'm using, and the crappy heater that we modified. As far as the airflow on this one, I reduced it to 2 out of 8, and I might even reduce it even further. And the reason that I found was why the 300 temperature before was not melting the socket and not deforming the board or overheating the board, is because I had a ventilation holes over here, and then I squeezed it to just kind of close it. So that was the reason why it worked great at the beginning, and then I couldn't reproduce the results. So it matters a lot whether you have ventilation on the nozzle or not. And I'm not sure which one is actually better. So for now I'm going to be using this, but in the future I will modify this significantly. And we'll see what the results will be. But first, let's remove all the solder and then retrace it, and we'll see how that goes. As I said, the probability of this succeeding is about 50-50. I wouldn't hold my breath, but we're gonna have some fun with it. Let's speed up the footage and see what we can do. Alrighty, here we have it. It is possible that this will work, but the possibility is very slight. It is extremely slight, but there's only one way to find out. However, if you're curious, how long did it take? It took 2 hours. Now, if you're curious how thin those wires are, I don't think you're even gonna be able to see it on the camera. It's kind of like hair. Where do those wires come from? A soldering wick. So, well, this particular one, they're usually pretty thin, depending on the wick. But yeah, that is slim to none chances that this will work. For main reason is because I think it's just too thick. It's gonna keep the socket a bit too far, and that's problem number one. Problem number two, the solder might touch the wire, especially here on this one, because we're routing in between over here. It is insulated by the glue, but as I said, this glue, I can feel it, how thick it is, right? This will affect the socket position. Now, this would have been a lot this would have had a lot better chance of working if I had actual pods, the restoration kit for the pods, but they don't make them that small, or at least I haven't seen them. I mean, obviously you can because they're laser cut, I think, so you can make it any size you want, but they pretty much they don't make it that small. So we'll see what this is gonna be, but each pod is technically restored. There's gonna be a connection. Now the question is there gonna be a connection to the pods next to it, right? Or is it gonna be too thick? Or the solder is gonna start flowing not where it's supposed to flow. We'll see, but I gotta take a break because this is very time-consuming, very tedious process. I do not recommend doing this, especially I mean, depending on the price of the device, of the value of the device. If the device is very expensive, obviously it makes sense. If you cannot, replace stuff, meaning, the device is $10, $20, $50,000 devices, right? This board, I don't know how much it would be worth, but maybe I'm thinking like $200 tops, absolute tops. I don't think, especially post repair. But even when it's new or used working condition, I don't think it would cost more than $200. So obviously this is not very viable, but what are you gonna do? Sometimes it's good to stretch a little and just venture outside your comfort zone, and this is pretty much what we did with this. So next, which is not going to be today, or maybe I'll prep for it today, but next step is to replace the socket and see if the board is going to boot. Highly unlikely, but we'll see. In any case, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I shall see you in the next one, probably tomorrow.